Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pillar to Pulse. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and I'm joined as always by Kobia Hamblin. And together we are going to preview the South Coast Hotels and Resorts of Barbados race day. It's a competitive 8 race card, Kobia, and it also has a minimum guarantee of $14,000 for a single winner in the Soca Six.
Hey, Rashaun, and hey, everyone. Welcome back to another beautiful week of racing. And as you mentioned, Rashaun, $14,000 is very interesting. It's very attractive. I mean, especially coming out of Christmas, it will help anyone.
Right.
Um, we start the day with the babies, the 3-year-olds, now 3-year-olds, I should say. We're sprinting once more, and we see a couple new faces with the likes of Star Time, Bossy Lady, Barnabas, Tis of Flight, and Cotton Reel. Rashawn, when you listen to some of these names, I'm pretty sure their parents pop into your mind a bit, huh?
No, for sure. There are some intriguing pedigrees. You have from families of Nikita, and you have a lot of really good pedigrees in this field. But obviously, the horse that everyone's going to wonder what to do with is Oyo's Princess. And, to anyone who's just looking at form, she has 4 consecutive seconds and 2/3 and 3 other starts. So on the board, 6 or 7 for a 3-year old rather is impressive. But it's just felt like she's had opportunities, and we're gonna both try to beat her, and you're gonna take Pavlova for Kenny John.
Yeah, I think this horse had ample opportunities to hand in her maiden certificate, and she hasn't quite been able to do that. Who I went with, as you mentioned, is Pavlova. And reason being, her first start was abysmal. She was absolutely nowhere to be found. And I mean, it's her first start, it's perfectly fine. But when I look at how she's improved to her second start, where she ran second to Flying Jenny, who went on to win um, the Diamonds Juvenile Boxing Day, the nursery, sorry. Flying Jenny went straight to the big boys, demolished them, and Pavlova made a very big run at her in her second start. I think, well, considering Flying Jenny's not going to be in the race, going one better is not going to be very difficult for this horse. I think Oyas Princess is going to find a way to lose again, unfortunately.
Okay.
And I think I'm sticking with Pavlova. You gone another direction though? Why is that?
Yeah. So again, I am one that I'm off the Oyas Princess train, and this might be the time where everybody gets off and she finally wins. So I'm going in another direction. We're going to talk about that in just a quick second. But for Pavlova, who I picked second, Jethro, also coming out of the barn of Kenny John, just beat Oyers Princess and made a gigantic leap. Didn't even finish his debut to win his second start, beating Oyers Princess. And then Pavlova, as you mentioned, after running nowhere behind Venom, finished really well to third behind Flying Jenny and Oyers Princess. So that jump, if she takes another jump in her third start, I just think she'll be better than Oyers Princess. But I don't necessarily like any of the ones with experience. So that's why I'm going to go completely the other direction with the first time starting Bossy Lady. Now, this is not a group that I've heard a ton about, these first time starters, but the everything that surrounds Bossy Lady on paper is why I'm going to land on this one. She's a 3-year-old daughter of John Bryant out of Woman is Boss. And Woman is Boss herself, she was fast and she was hyped when she was a juvenile because she is a full sister to Are You Talking to Me, Stolen, Stealing. So there is precocity in the line. There's also speed in the line. So with Rashid Hughes and Andrew Nunez and the potential that this horse could be fast in a field that with horses with experience, they aren't that good, and I haven't really heard much about the first time starters. I think Bossy Lady could be one that could jump up and win first time out here.
Which I think is a fair shot in the dark. I see absolutely no issue with what you've said so far. We do share our first three just in a different order. And Oyas Princess, I think you could agree, it's impossible for her at least not to place. She has to at least run third.
Yeah, it's
She's not
hard
a
for her.
but
Yeah,
she's
it's been
really not.
hard for her to win. It's been hard for her to win, but it hasn't been hard for her to place. So I would be very surprised, very, very surprised if she doesn't place here. But that's race number one. And race number two does not get any easier. The races get even more confusing as we kick off the Soca Six with it's just a handicap. It doesn't necessarily have a name. And it's for the 3-year-olds and older rated 25 and below. And this one feels like I can't talk you off of anything in this spot where you might be able to find a shot, a sneaky shot here to kick off the pick six.
A sneaky shot indeed, and that's why I went with Gabby's Girl. Visionary, who I think is maybe the more obvious pick based on form and history. I went with Gabby's Girl. I don't know what has happened to this horse, Rashaun. I don't know if you've seen this horse recently, but this horse has taken a tremendous turnaround in physical form. It got to a point where I saw this horse one day and I wondered, is this horse an import? And when I was
Right.
told it's Gabby, I said, this horse is not missing me. And I feel as weak as this, whether this is Gabby's Girl pet event or not, I can't not pick her.
Yeah, I obviously have her in my try as well, and I'm gonna go with Miss Universe, and I'll address Gabby's Girl after. I think in this field, no one really jumps out off the page, so it's looking for that
No,
recency and right and some sort of form. So if you look at everyone's last out race, Miss Universe is the only one who's placed, and she ran third behind Thunder Lady last time out, and it wasn't anything stellar. I think Thunder Lady is a horse that if she's in this spot, she easily is the favorite and she easily wires. So Miss Universe not having Thunder Lady and having a smaller field and being one of the highest rated horses in the race, she's 23 in a 25 class race. I think that this will be one
does that
one
really
to
help
watch.
in a race?
No, because I like some of the 16 rated horses in this field. So it doesn't matter, but it's just I'm trying to convince myself so hard about Miss Universe because really and truly in this race, any one of these seven can win this race. And this is a horse that Rashid Hughes rode last time. And obviously, maybe it was interesting to see him on that mount, and she ran third. So here she comes back with Kemar Trotman, and we'll see with the 130 pounds, it really doesn't bother me. And then Gabby's Girl, because again, not a fan of a lot of them in this spot. And she hasn't raced in what would be 133 days. And she's shown speed in the past. So I'm hoping that in a race with Visionary Red Ribbon, Temple Dancer, Rock and Robbing, no one wants the lead of those names. So her being fresh off the bench, I hope that Delano Lopez can hopefully find some speed off that freshness and put her in the race, and she would be very tough. And getting 7 pounds from the horse that I have on top, I really think she has a chance. Hopefully, this will be a sneaky bomb to open up the pick six. But then underneath, I'm going to go Visionary. Again, nothing to shout about. The form isn't the greatest. 2 starts back, he finished second sprinting, just went to a route, so cutting back. This is a horse that knows what it is to win in a race with horses that don't win that frequently. So I'm going to go 6-2-1.
Rashaun, considering the lack of depth in the race, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot of folks playing all in this first leg of the pick six. But I think I'm going to divert from that. I think I'm going to run into Gabby's Girl, Visionary, and Miss Universe. The winner has to come from one of these three. As you would have mentioned, when you look through the field, there's no actual pace setter. It feels like whoever is the fastest of them is to go to front, but they're not necessarily fast, any of them. I think that is going to be Visionary, though. I think Gabby's Girl is going to be on his flank the entire trip. I think the two of them are going to put about 4 or 5 lengths in the field. And if Miss Universe is able to catch them late, so be it. But I think the race is between 3 of these regardless. Visionary, the seasoned campaigner, 10-year-old, in my opinion, would have ran with better horses, or at least better sprinters, than what he's up against Saturday in this.
And in this replay that we're showing, he's beating Rock and Robbing, who albeit was off a very, 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 very long layoff. Temple Dance and Red Ribbon. That is half the field already. So
that's
he's
half
already
the field already.
Yeah, he's better than, or seemingly better than 3 of the horses he's reopposing. And then we have the others on top of him. So it's like he might be a middle of the pack horse here, but we'll see. Race number 3, the Hilton Barbados Resort Trophy handicap for 3-year-olds and older rated 50 and below, and it's for the maidens. And now I think this is where races get clearer, because I really think today's the day for charisma.
I want to agree with you, but I'm also very wary of Love Bug. Now, you said this race is charisma's race. Now, if you look through the field, at least through the pick six contested races, you would see you need to cut back on your bet somewhere. Rashaun, I think this is a leg where you can cut back on your bet. Do you think you're confident enough to single charisma?
Yeah, so we're going to get into our pick 6 in the end, and I'm going to be very, very candid. I am singling charisma. I think she's just been very unlucky not to have won a race already. And in her last start, I think she just was ridden with a lot to do, and not to any fault of her rider in that spot. Rashid Hughes gets back on board. Octavia Sienna just sitting on the pace, and that's where you want to be at the Garrison when you're good. You want to be close, and you just make that run. And Octavia Sienna just did not stop and got that. Yeah, exactly. Got that jump
by a
and
mile.
Then we get Rashid Hughes back on board. Charisma ran all the way through the wire. This is a horse that ran in 4th in the Derby, infamously in her second start. It's been a little bit disappointing, but I picked her last time, and she was best. I think you run this race again, she does beat Octavia Sienna. Then you come in this spot with Lovebug, who she just beat by 5.25, and then Night Racer, who is good, but I think just a little below Charisma. So I'm gonna go Charisma. And also when you look at this field, the three that you want, Charisma, Night Racer, and Lovebug, all have the top weight 127, 128, and 126 respectively. So the horses that they have to beat and contend with are gonna take the same weight. The others in the middle of the field aren't that good, and I think we can afford to give that weight away.
This race is very similar to the previous race in that there are three main horses with a chance. Charisma, as you mentioned, had a lot of work to do in her last start trying to catch Octavia Sienna, who put 4, 5, 6 lengths in her pretty quickly. Being closer to this pace is going to do her very well. I did choose Lovebug over Night Racer, as I just think Lovebug is a little bit more forward. Night Racer is going to get there, but I don't think he's good enough to beat the two of these. You can't get me off of Charisma.
No, agree. And then I may have overshot it, because I will say, if someone wants to play faster cash in this spot, I do understand that. If Blackett catches the 112, could also be a part of the pace, and loose with that, 112 pounds, that is 15 pounds from Charisma. So I may have been a bit presumptuous saying that there's no one else except these three. I understand if you want faster cash, but really, I think it's Charisma's race to lose.
That actually is the genuine pace in the race. This may be the loose kite up front. This may be the one to catch with 3 furlongs to go. So Charisma could end up in the same position once more, toiling and trying to catch the leader. Let's see how it goes, though.
Yeah, I think feels small, so Rashid Hughes was able to get her a bit closer, unlike the Octavia Sienna race where it was a bigger field and she was a little farther back.
Okay. We're going to move on to race number 4, the Sandals Barbados Resorts Trophy. This race is going 9 furlongs for horses 60 to 37. Rashaun, another small race, another small field. We find the likes of Mystique, who just had 2 wins, War Party, Social Circle, who's stretching out to 9 furlongs, the Spoiled Child, Heidi Marie, who's been knocking around recently, and Luscious, who has also been knocking around, but is looking for some form of consistency, should I say.
Yeah, in this race, there's a lot of directions you can go. We're both going to end up on Mystique, so it doesn't seem like there are that many directions. But Mystique,
it's only 2 opinions.
Right,
it's only 2
that is true. And there are only 7 horses in this field, so we could only go so different. Mystique is a horse that came back 2 starts ago and won very impressively off the layoff. Again, that statistic where horses go first-time new owners for Andrew Nunes is crazy. I think people need to pay attention to that. But then she comes,
too many of them to ignore.
Right, exactly. And since then, Premise came back and did the same thing. But then she comes back and runs an absolute dud, complete bounce, running behind Delicia's Angel last time out, and Luscious also was in that spot. Now, Rashid Hughes gets back on board, gets on board rather. So that might be a big boost of confidence for bettors who want to see who want a little bit of Mystique again, because I think the race with Delicia's Angel last time out just so happened to be dominated on the front end, where horses like Sunbeam and I Told You So, who were sitting very second and third or third and fourth in their own little race because Delicia's Angel and Magnific had gone so far in front, were able to finish second and third just because they were towed into the race, very much like horses that run behind Nostradasa. And so for a race that was dominated on the front, you're going to see Mystique and Luscious, who are very far behind, not being able to get into the race. And I ultimately, out of this race, if I'm being honest, Kobia, I prefer Luscious. But it's just the fact that Mystique has 118 pounds to Luscious having 128. You're going to see in the final furlong, if there's anyone making up ground from this race, it's Luscious. She's circled wide and she's actually finishing. But I'm not sure what confidence what is giving Edward Walker the confidence to take 128 pounds. He trains the horse. I don't, so he has to know best. But to give 10 pounds away to Mystique, who you just only beat by like 2 lengths, I think is tough. But from that race, Luscious is the horse you want. But the weight, I just think, tips the scale quite literally in the favor of Mystique.
I agree with you with Luscious. The 10 pounds is quite a lot. And you also giving 10 pounds to my second place horse, number 4, War Party. War Party does call for a bit of riding. Rashad Knights takes him out, and he has been successful with this horse, even his last start. This horse takes a lot to get going, and I think someone familiar in that the same Rashad Knights is a perfect combination. But Rashid Hughes taking Mystique, especially considering the rides and the trips Mystique has had recently, the ground she has made up coming from the absolute clouds is amazing to me. I think the fact that now she has a smaller field, less traffic, she's going to be able to be closer, easily better positioned. If you look at this race where Espresso and Show Me the Milk did it basically the same thing as Delicious Angel and Magnific. At the top of the stretch, look at Mystique. Mystique is going down Bush Hill.
It was crazy that she won this.
Right, she is barely in the camera, and she is flying home late. She is like a freight train coming home. I think she's had some pretty hard races, and this one is a bit easier, at least on paper, especially considering the weight pull. Mystique is one of my more confident choices for Saturday.
Yeah, and as you talk about weight pull, that's where I'm gonna have my shot in the dark to split Mystique and Luscious with number 3 Social Circle, who with Muhammad on board again, if he catches the 114, that is very attractive to me because like with Faster Cash, so obviously that's the elephant in the room, and let's address that because like with Faster Cash, who's supposed to want the lead here? It would be some random person if it weren't Social Circle, because a couple of months ago, it would easily be Red Force, but he hasn't sniffed the lead in months. So I think Social Circle has one role to play here: go to the lead and try to rock them to bed. Obviously, the question mark is the ability to stay. He's a son of Janat. I find it hard to believe that someone who's a horse who's by Janat cannot stay. And obviously, this was in 2020, but he ran in the Derby behind War Eagle, and it was not a terrible 5th or 6th. Granted, that's mid-pack, but if you watch the replay, he stays. But that was a long time ago, and he's really sprinted and gone the mile since.
You're fighting against
yeah, but if Kadeem Mohammed can get this horse to relax up front and turn it into a sprint, so this horse only feels like a sprint, then I'm gonna take Social Circle to give a little bit of an upset or help me with some exotics here.
Signing up for BTC bets is very easy. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Scroll down to start betting. Click sign up for a free account and fill out the form. Check your email for the verification code and enter it. Create a personal password and PIN, and you're all set to start betting.
Okay, so we're going to move on to race number 5. It's the Radisson Aquatica Resorts Barbados Trophy Handicap. And it's for 3-year-olds and older non-winners of 2, rated 55 and below. And as full as the title is as full as this race is. I think this is very, very deep and competitive. And when entries came up, Kobia, this was the first race my eyes jumped to because it has really good non-winners of 2s lined up.
It does. It is a really, really competitive race. To be quite fair, my winner honestly came from a jockey pick. This is in horse number 7, Wonderwall. Sorry. I chose Rashid Hughes on Wonderwall simply because of what they did in their last start, their last victory. Rashid was able to have this horse engaged and was never allowed her to settle. Always kept asking her to go. And I think that's exactly what's going to have to happen again because she has speed coming from the outside in the likes of Simmer Down and Fantastic Justice that if they get across, Wonderwall's race is finished. You have finishers like maybe Octavia Sienna and Legendary and even another speedball coming out with the one box spending money. I think Rash is going to have to go from ball 1 again and keep this horse pressed and keep her up to her task. This simply came from a jockey pick.
Yeah, no, obviously when you have a jockey like Rashid Hughes, the horses that he gets on board definitely catch the eye. And Wonderwall, even without Rashid Hughes, she's not without a chance in this field. I have her picked as well. But I'm going to take Fantastic Justice. Actually, rather, I'm going to take Simmer Down and Fantastic Justice. I'm going to take Simmer Down on top. I think it's really interesting how competitive this race is because of the pace. And you mentioned Wonderwall and Simmer Down and Fantastic Justice, who I have, Octavia Sienna, Spending Money. These are all horses that are known for their speed. And last time out, Fantastic Justice was able to get out and ahead of Simmer Down. But you're going to watch from the gates. They were bumping and Simmer Down was trying to get across, but they're racing head to head. So I think their speed is pretty even. She's a filly and he's a very robust colt. So the bumping will do her no favors. But now she's drawn to the inside of Fantastic Justice. I think all things being equal and fair and she breaks, she might be able to get at least in front of him. I'm not sure of the lead because, again, if Blanco, who's shown speed, wants to go and he's fresh, he's been off for 364 days, so one right under a year. And then maybe Wonderwall again. I don't know who necessarily is the fastest because there's so many of them that are quick. But if Simmer Down can get to the lead, she'll be dangerous. Beckles is on board because Rashid Hughes, as you said, is now on. Even though Blackett rode her after this race, Rashid Hughes is on Wonderwall. I think this is very competitive. I'm going to go Simmer Down. Fantastic Justice, who's run races with other speeds and placed and or won. He will definitely take some beating in this spot and is, in my opinion, the horse to beat. I'm going to take Simmer Down just to flip the form.
I don't see it happening that way. I do see the speed of Simmer Down faltering very quickly. Fantastic Justice, a hard-headed so-and-so if I've ever seen one before.
Right.
Of course, faces absolutely everything, every reason not to get the lead, and he still gets there. I don't think the wide draw is going to make any difference this time. I think this horse should be able to get across, but the amount of work it's going to take to get across, I think is going to play a toll at the top of the stretch. I think this horse is going to falter. Now, I have Octavia Sienna on my third line. I think she is going to be picking up the pieces late. I think she's going to be able to run through the field. Mind you, it's going to be a lot of traffic because there's a lot of speed and a lot of these horses are going to be coming back.
Right.
Aaron Daniel is able to pick the right spots at the right time. It's a split-second decision. But she is on my third line. And as I mentioned, to round out my four is Fantastic Justice, the speedball. Any day this horse gets a real draw, cash it in.
Yeah, I think just my final thought on that. I agree that if he's drawn inside, he's easily the horse I want in this spot. But I have Legendary, who's the one that I know is not going to contest the pace. Has speed, when he's running with other slower horses, but in this spot, he does not. She does not need the lead, and she's not going to get near it. And maybe is the one that will come later. I think early in her career, this is a horse I question quality, but recently she's been running very, very solid races. Very notably coming out from a third behind Premise and Fantastic Justice. The pace was pretty contentious with Fantastic Justice and Premise, even though Premise closed to win and Fantastic Justice and the rest kind of stayed on. But I think Legendary will be the one probably to pick up the pieces more than Octavia Sienna, who just broke her maiden, and you just showed a video of her losing to Wonderwall. So you think that race is key with Wonderwall and Octavia Sienna, but I think they're just a cut below the others.
To each his own, Rashaun. So we take a step on to race number 6, the Wyndham Grand Barbados Resort Trophy. This race is going 7.8 and is open to horses rated 40 and below. Rashaun, again, a 12-horse field. This is a race that can make or break you. And I went with horse number 2, Princess Julia. Princess Julia, who is more so consistent than anyone else in this race. This horse has not run out the first 4 in months. I think with the apprentice claim in Blackett taking 7 from 123, I think this horse should be able to sit behind the pace, maybe even work with my second place horse, Red Eagle, and come through the field solid. Red Eagle, who's 5-1 with Jalon Samuel, I expect that 5-1 to drop hard.
Yeah.
My first 3, I did go with Rush, a winner last effort. And to keep it under, I went with Mo Farah and the late entrant Tinkerbell. You have Tinkerbell on your winning line, while I have her on my 5th. Where did you get her as a winner?
No, I think Tinkerbell for me is the horse to beat in this spot. I think I love the claim, the 7 pounds. She was the reserve and she got in. She's rated 41 and this is 40. I think this is a significant drop in class for a horse that's run pretty solidly against higher rated. You saw her run with the 50s quite consistently, 50s, 55, and the 60s, losing to horses like Capro Cat, Drogon, War Party, Mystique. So coming out of this race behind Delicia's Angel, where she was not disgraced finishing 5th. Again, a lot of horses didn't make up any ground in this race. and she was able to finish fifth. And I think there's these horses aren't the superstars of the Garrison, but they're much better than Princess Julia and the Red Eagles of the world. So I think this dropping class with the claim will be really, really good for Tinkerbell. She's going to come with the run. She's not part of the pace, and if she can get a good trip, she will take some beating. I'm going to take Princess Julia. I agree with you. She's very consistent no matter where she's put. She runs really well, and she takes her race with her, which is very good in a race that's this deep. You want to find a horse that you can trust. Claiming 7 pounds is never a negative. With the red hot Blackett on board, everything just points in her direction. I agree with Red Eagle. Another one with Jalon Samuel, running good races, 2 seconds and a third in his last 3 starts. Dreamlit, who won last time out, who I think last time was more of the time. And then Rear Nickel, who obviously, if you look 2 starts back, the jockey lost the irons and finished 5th. I thought last time the waters were a little too deep. Got in there and absolutely won, and won very impressively. So this is a horse too that I can see being higher than 5th in this spot. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm not picking, but there's just others that I really like or can trust more than Rear Nickel. But I'm gonna put her in just to run up the high 5. So 9, 2, 10, 8, and 3 for me in this spot. And then we're going to move on to the big one. It's the Ocean Hotels Barbados Trophy Handicap. It's going 1,100 meters for the 110 and lower. We're going to see the big girl Nostradamus make her 4-year-old debut. Honestly, in a spot that I didn't see coming. I mean, the rumblings around the track, you knew this is where it was going to go. I thought she would probably try to prep somewhere else. But she's going to prep here for the Tanglewood, winning her in for the Gold Cup. And honestly, how is she supposed to lose this race?
I'm the punter that tries to beat the favorite. Now, the horse I'm looking to beat her with is actually Major Dan. Nostradamus, who would have recently lost to horses like Paper Trail. I don't take it away from her because if you consider it, the track did have a bit of a give. She's a horse that likes a firm or even a good to firm track. That track was more so on the softer side. We're coming back on what we hope to be a good to firm track or even a firm track. And when you look at the last time she had that sprinting, she beat horses like Bahari Cove and Queen of the South. So on paper, realistically, this is a step up in class. Major Dan is a tougher customer than what she has faced before. Another horse I'm looking at is actually Miss Anya. Her second start, this is her third start in Barbados. Sorry. And a dual winner back in England. I think she's now trying to find her form and trying to find her position in Barbados racing, but she still has to catch the big girl.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to beat Nostradamus in this spot. I understand the step up in class, running with the 110s for the first time. But I think just because of who she is and what she has to do in this race, it's going to be very hard to beat her because it's going to be conditions that she wants, and no one can really go with her. Major Dan, probably if he was lighter, and he's giving her weight. So at 117 pounds, she's drawn 1. She doesn't have to cross anyone. She just has to break, and I think this race is over. Miss Anya, as you said, is making her third start. New connections, transferring to Sean Hall. Blackett's on board, so 115 pounds. But I just think it's pretty formful. Major Dan on the inside to be second, who will probably sit second and track and run like that. You've seen a lot of races with Anissa. I think this is very similar, just that it's Nostradamus. And then Show the Money, who gets Jalon Samuel, and he's got the best back class of them all sprinting. Obviously, the recency of the 1 and 2, Nostradamus and Major Dan, is why I have them over him. And you agree, you have it the same exact way. But I have a question for you, Kobia. And I want you, as she's prepping for the Tanglewood, and obviously the question a lot of people are going to ask, do you think this is the right prep where you're sprinting to go 10 furlongs? Because she sprinted to win the Breeders' Classic in November. Richard Dean also used a sprint for conflict of interest before he almost pulled off the shocker in the Derby with War Eagle. But then Northern Star, for example, prepped in a sprint before the Gold Cup and was nowhere. Joshua, if you go back more years, prepped in a sprint before the Derby in 2014 and was dead last. So for her and the circumstances leading into the Tanglewood and who she's going to have to face, there have been a number of 9 furlong preps that her counterparts have participated in, and there is one on the card. Well, she's not obviously in that class, but do you think this is the right spot?
I think if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Richard Dean has placed this horse strategically in other sprints to prep for longer races, whether that was a BTBA Classic, whether that was another 9 or 10 furlong she was running in previously. I don't think at this point he should be changing any part of the recipe when it comes to Nostradasa. Now, this is her first time going 10 furlongs since the Derby. This is her first time going against open class at the distance, but I think she's given her all. She's given her best ability in all, and I think Richard Dean can only do what he has done before and keep his fingers crossed. At the end of the day, he's not a jockey. He's not the horse. He can only prep her to the best of his ability, and I think this is the right route he is going. Now, you mentioned that this is very similar to races like Enisa, and I think very easily Nostradasa should be about 4 clear, and if they catch her, they catch her. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will.
But if you have seen, behind the scenes, should I call them issues with this horse? I can see where they're having issues working her on a morning and getting what they want out of her on a morning. So I can see why Richard would rather, turf track gallop, should I call it?
Sometimes our training track is a little unforgiving. And if she's going to be, little vulnerable on working those things, you can get a track work in, I guess, in a race. And that's what happened again in the Breeders' Classic, for the Breeders' Classic.
Precisely. So as I mentioned before, what isn't broke, don't fix. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to adjust. Let this horse roll. So we're going to go into the last race of the day, which I actually view as another Tanglewood prep. Now, this is for 3-year-olds and older, rated 85 to 62, and we're going 9 furlongs, just a furlong shorter than the Tanglewood. And we have the likes of Raconteur, who's going, Fillmore's, who's going to be in the Tanglewood, as along with Aries. But Harry Cove is not going anymore for whatever reasons. And we find Priceless, my winner, number 1 at 108 pounds. Going these distances, if we're sprinting, I don't look at weight too cautiously. Right. But anytime we're routing, especially when you're being given almost 15 pounds from the entire field, I can't look any further than Priceless. Priceless, who would have actually just ran with another Tanglewood entrant in Valiant and was only beaten by half of a length.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree on the weight point. That's why I ended up on Raconteur. I think with a horse like Priceless, this is a good race. Valiant is going to be one that you want. Raconteur was up the stretch in this race. So Priceless was miles ahead of Raconteur. So I understand that, but I just feel like Raconteur is such an enigma, and the good Raconteur wins this race. 109 pounds, probably going to be just 1 or 2 pounds or a few pounds over. But then we talked earlier about Rashid Hughes. Rashid Hughes gets on board. I just feel like that has to be some sort of sign from Andrew Nunes that this horse is
positive.
Right, is trending in the right direction, leading into the Tanglewood. Because, like, for example, his last Tanglewood winner, People's Champ, was not in any sort of well-known form going into the Tanglewood that he won. So I think Andrew Nunes might just be tightening the screws at the right time. His last race was abysmal. But with this 109 pounds on Rashid Hughes, I have to take the Midsummer winner. Then I'll take Phil Morris. You have him as well, who's been the most consistent of this group. Aries didn't finish last time. Lovely, probably better, shorter. And then I just think it's a quality conversation with Priceless. Understood that he did beat Raconteur. So I'm going to take 3 and 2 in the finale.
Okay, well, we also share number 2 on our second spot. And the reason I went after Fillmore is I'm not even sure what I'd add to the reason I've chosen Fillmore.
Right.
The consistent fella within this class and at this last effort, I found this horse got in the world of trouble. Although finishing second behind Dancing Prospector, I found this horse was never able to settle, never got the position he wanted, but was classy enough to finish second. I think he should be the pace setter here. Again, I thought so last time, and it was clearly wrong.
I thought he would have been too. Yeah.
I still think on a good day, this horse is good enough to run second. I think the weight is going to get him late, though, with Priceless finishing like a train.
We have the pick 6. That is a minimum guarantee of $14,000 to a single winner. I'm going to go for a $96 ticket at 50 cents. 1, 2, 4, and 6 in the first leg. So spreading the hope to get out of that leg. Then 1 of Singling Charisma. I think This is her day. 5 and 7, Mystique and Luscious. 2, 7, 8, and 11 going a bit deeper in that non-winners of 2 in the middle of the sequence with Legendary, Wonderwall, Simmer Down, and Fantastic Justice. 2, 3, 9, Princess Julia, Rare Nickel, and Tinkerbell. And then hopefully to end it out with Nostradasa and Major Dan. I really think you could also single Nostradasa in this last leg, but who wants to be alive for $14,000 plus, and you are riding on one of 6 horses? So that's my $96 ticket at 50 cents.
Well, my ticket is a bit on the cheaper side at $64. I didn't go as deep as you on the first leg. I only went with 2 horses, 1 and 2. Race 3, again, 2 horses, 1 and 8. Flip to race 4. We both share 5 and 7, but race 5, we have a bit of some differences. So I went with 2, 3, 7, 11. Race 6, I'm not as deep as you either. I went with 2 and 10. And as you would have mentioned, after doing all of this handicapping, coming into the last leg of the pick 6, who wants to single one horse? I don't care how confident you are, it is going to burn if she steps out the gate slow. So I have to add my insurance bet to Nostradasa, which is Major Dan. That is my pick 6 ticket at $64.
Well, there you have it, folks. As always, thank you so much for tuning into Pillar to Post. Please follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube. And as always, may all your tickets be winning ones.